Welcome, everyone, to the Union Federation podcast, where we discuss both Star Trek and the Orville here on the Fandom Podcast Network. My name is Kevin. I'll be your captain. I'd like to introduce my crew for this Union Federation episode 203, Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 6 of Gods and Angels. And let's start with my first officer and, of course, counselor and the founder of the BQN, Amy Nelson. Welcome. How are you?
Hello. I just got back from the gym doing my radius workout.
Very, very nice. Very nice. All right, let's welcome my co-captain, security weapons officer, cleaner of the P corner, Mr. Kyle Wagner.
Yeah, I see what you did there. You've been reading from that other dimensional pad because I can see you're working on your Boimler look there, Mr. Wrightsville.
I'm wearing my Badgie t-shirt today, so
it's all about the bevel. That's all I'm saying. It's all about that bevel.
All about the bevel. All about the bevel. All right, guys. So yeah,
this is red.
This is Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, the final season, Episode 6 of Gods and Angels. And, of course, this is the Union Federation on the Fandom Podcast Network and BQN, celebrating, of course, the final season of Star Trek Lower Decks. And recently on the Fandom Podcast Network with Union Federation, of course, we are going to be celebrating the Orville come around the first of the year. We're going to be doing some Orville crew profiles. So make sure you check in with that. And give us any reason to go back and talk about the Orville. We're going to do it, and we're going to celebrate that as well. And hopefully some news, official news, Seth MacFarlane, will come out about the Orville actually going into production from the rumors that we hear. Of course, recently on the Fandom Podcast Network and, of course, Union Federation, we have celebrated Star Trek The Next Generation. We did a podcast on every two-part episode, which is a lot of fun to go into. Those episodes are up and done. Make sure you check that out. But we're here with Lower Decks, and we have our first away mission. Right. And also, too, if you have not seen this week's episode, please, spoiler alert, guys, just come back and watch it and then come back and join us. So one of the things we got to do first is we've got to get our episode review going here by the Admiral's Log episode synopsis. Amy, can you please give that to us for Episode 6, Gods and Angels of Lower Decks?
Well, Mariner teams up with a troubled ensign while the Cerritos hosts peace talks between warring civilizations. The Cerritos is hosting peace talks between photonic cube and orb energy beings who have filled the ship with petty shape-based bickering. With tensions high, Ransom has no patience for the ship's new chaos agent, Ensign Ollie, a literal granddaughter of Zeus, demigod whose antics have sent her through a series of ships. Mariner senses a kindred spirit and offers to take the troublemaker under her wing. Boimler has his own crisis going on during all this as he scrutinizes the pad he stole from Beard Boimler, which is how he learned that in the alt-universe version of the Sphere Cube mission, his counterpart became pals with Dr. T'Ana, who gave him the nickname Flip and invited him to her book club. Determined to do the same, Boimler heads to sickbay with some old medical books and starts using his hoped-for nickname so much that the cranky Cation doctor tells him, if you say Flip one more time, I'm going to punch your nose off. But not even a brief medical coma can dissuade him. Inspired by the colorful messages Alt T'Ana left Beard Boimler, he decides to approach her using her language. No, not Cation. Cursing. Let's just say calling T'Ana a bleep bleep, because she's a bleep, didn't go as planned, evidenced by the cat scratches and screeches.
You're muted, Kevin.
What you got, Kyle?
I was just going to say, I'm so proud of Amy for reading that Admiral's Log and not throwing any lightning bolts in any orifices.
Let's get some first reactions here. Kyle, let's start with you.
Well, I haven't made up my mind if I'm more cube or more spear, but this was a fun episode. This was a kind of a nice little side thing going on with, whenever the Cerritos gets in diplomatic missions, it tends to go a little weird. I love the fact that Mariner's kind of trying to take somebody under her wing because she reminds her so much of her. And I've loved the Boimler stuff all season long. That's been the highlight of the season for me. Has been Boimler's alt pad reality, and it is red, so that is a good thing. But what I liked, one of the things I did like about this episode was the fact that they all know he's like been trying to hide it. But yeah, you're reading the alt pad, and they all know it. it's just that was a lot of fun. But no, this was just a fun episode of Lower Decks. And we're looking at Boim there. The Boim stash, the Boim patch. It's working well so far.
Kyle, are you a cube or a sphere?
I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out. I might be somewhere in the middle.
Amy, your first reactions?
After not thoroughly enjoying the previous 2 episodes, this one I really enjoyed. Just right from the get-go. Super fun. I, of course, loved all the jokes of the cubes and the spheres. They're having trouble with number 10 because it's, too round and there's too many corners. It was so cute, well written. I like that, the puns that they throw in with that. And again, finding commonalities, and it's similar to the TNG.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be getting to that later.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that was some nice TNG vibes. I really, really liked that. And the Boimler, I have to agree with you, Kyle. His beard is growing in nicely, and I just love it.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
I don't know yet.
It's gonna get there, I'm sure. It's been fun to see the progression each episode. That's what's been fun. And then lastly, I just love that he thinks that no one knows about his pad. He's like, oh, that one? Yeah, I know you're using that. That was really cute. Kyle?
I just want to say the truth of the matter is we know that if a Star Trek episode has any kind of mathematical reference in it, Amy's going to love it.
Yes.
So, Amy, are you a cube or a sphere?
Man, you know what? The properties of each are so awesome. That is a serious tough question. I'm leaning sphere, but every time I go there, I want to be cube. So
I think the issue is if you're a cube, you're kind of a square, and that goes. But if I'm a sphere, I'm worried LeBron James is just going to come and pick me up at some point and dunk me. So it's like
I'm a sphere. That's what no cube.
Oh,
cube.
I've told you about the dangers of that thing, Kevin.
Yeah, I know, right? I enjoyed this episode too. What I love about Lower Decks is it does a great job of really diving deep into just random episodes of Trek that have been here before us, but making them either matter more or doing a nice tribute to them, and just really laying the connective tissue for all of us to really enjoy. And it's not done in a way to where it's fan service to me, because they go beyond it more. They dive into it more. You get to learn about the species that was only introduced in that episode of Star Trek more. That's not fan service to me. That's just really kind of laying into the canon more and making you kind of, think about wanting to watch older episodes for that reason, and like, oh really, oh wow, and so this was a lot of fun. I really thought that this was a fun one here, and just a little kind of thing here for if it's not necessarily trivia or not, but the Antikins and the Soleil, or excuse me, the Orbs and the Cubes are pretty standard minor Star Trek races. The photonic idea is interesting, but they're really just window dressing to create tension and conflict and something for our characters to do, just like the Next Generation episode Lonely Among Us. And I also like the fact that there's a kindred spirit there with the new crew member and Mariner. The Mariner wants to help her, and anyone that can exasperate Ransom, I think, is great. I thought that was a nice touch there. So yeah, and so let's go ahead and get into some Star Trek trivia. Amy, I thought you might want to read the first one. This one's kind of funny. I forgot about this one.
So amazingly, one of the objects that Ensign Ollie was loading onto the sled was Worf's chair. And oh my gosh, how bizarre is that chair?
One of the most uncomfortable looking devices of all time. And he's supposed to look comfortable in that episode of TNG when his parents are visiting, you know?
Yes.
Kyle, read us some of those Trek trope tributes there. Read us that first one there.
Oh. As referenced above, Star Trek The Next Generation, Lonely Among Us is probably the closest parallel to this episode in the Trek trope of our crew having to host two hostile species aboard the ship and having their hostility be a source of tension and drama for the episode in question.
Yeah. Remember this one? Remember these guys? Yeah.
Yep.
TNG. I think that was season 1, of course. Got some canon connections here. The USS Resides. I love how they're all choosing these LA area cities as names for ships. Their all crew are all reformed Maquis. Wonder how many of them served on Voyager. We also got another one here, guys, and I didn't catch this right away, but good joke. We got a real Ronald B. Moore over here, a deep cut reference. That's what Boimler says. To comedian Joe Piscopo's comedian character in the Next Generation episode, The Outrageous Icona. Now this is Ronald B. Moore, not Ronald D. Moore. So different Ronald here. The Outrageous Icona, the comic, now the character is billed in the episode closing credits, was identified as Ronald B. Moore. It's an inside joke, as Moore was a member of the production crew on the holodeck menu of the LCARS panel. That's really only the legible in high definition. So that's him right there next to a model of the Borg cube. Of course, that's Joe Piscopo as the comedian Ronald B. Moore right there. So, yeah. Amy, you want to read us the next one here?
Yes. You don't have to be a Dixon Hill to see that some bad shit went down here. Quote, shows that Mariner is, like Picard, also a fan of the detective novel series that spawned a line of popular holodeck programs.
Kyle, you thinking what I'm thinking?
I'm thinking he looks awful young in that picture.
Oh.
I thought I just heard Amy curse for the first time. That's all.
Yeah, that too.
That was Mariner.
Kyle, read us the next one, please.
Yeah. Ollie's miniature tractor beam had Wesley's miniature tractor beam from the Naked Now vibes, and in fact, there's a replica of Wesley's design in Boimler and Rutherford's quarters.
There you go. All right. So that was some fun canon connections and trivia there. See, it goes all over the board with this stuff that we get, and being big Trek fans that we are, we love to see this stuff. So yeah. All right, guys, we got another way mission. Let's go ahead and hit that. All right, I want to give a shout out first of all to Trek Core. Provide a lot of good resources and articles. Make sure you check them out. And we got a good article here. We want to talk about Ensign Ollie here, guys. A new character that has been introduced to us here. The most interesting character in this week's episode, and this is from the article of Gods and Angels by Alex Perry. And it says the most interesting character in this week's episode, Ensign Ollie, played by Saba Humayun, the half-human, half-Greek god Starfleet officer descended from the aliens being encountered by Captain Kirk and the crew of the Enterprise, and who mourns for Adonais? Adonais, thank you.
Adonais.
I may have seen that episode twice in my lifetime. I don't remember it that well, but I vaguely remember the look. Ensign Ollie's backstory dances around the direct connection to who mourns, but the concept of the entities from that episode having children with mortals is not new to Star Trek. The original script for that original series episode would have seen Lieutenant Palamas, who has a brief relationship with Apollo, reveal that she is pregnant. And in the New Frontier line of novels by Peter David, her son Mark McHenry is serving as the helms officer aboard the USS Excalibur and possesses some of the powers of his father. I want to get your guys' thoughts on Ensign Ollie here in this character. That is a throwback to the episode. Too bad we don't have Haley with us right now because she knows a little more about the TOS series than we do. But Amy, I want to start with you. Your thoughts on Ensign Ollie?
Yeah, I really like this character. Being a counselor and in school for so many years, you just never want to give up on someone. And I love that Mariner has grown so much to understand her personal growth and how she believes that she has a unique perspective because there was some similarities, right? So it's just a beautiful relationship between those two, and it's really showing how much Mariner has grown. And she, Ensign Ollie, she just wants to do good, but yeah, without her being her authentic self by trying to hide the powers and having all this electrical stuff come, like it was hindering her and she wasn't being authentic and she wasn't, she kept getting in trouble and discipline. And it was finally Mariner, and that was sort of my favorite scene between them is she's like, your superpowers are going to save the day. And she's like, no, I don't want anyone to know. And they run to, the, wherever they go. And I just thought, and she's like, no, don't tell anyone. But then once she does, it was so much better. And it was like, okay, now you're being authentic. And now we can get you in engineering now that we know your real strengths and you're not trying to hide. So I love it. And it's so good for the Cerritos to show that.
It's a good call. I like that. Kyle, what about you? Your thoughts on Ensign Ollie?
I think it was a character that grew on me as the episode went along because I really felt like they were just kind of, at first, they were trying to use her as a point to see how much, so we could see how much Mariner had grown as a character, which I understood, but it was just like, okay, I feel like you're kind of force feeding a little bit of the trope here, but then they kind of took a few different directions with the character, kind of had a little doubt in her because all of a sudden she was high. It's like, wait a minute, she was hiding the melted computer, but it wasn't for the reasons that you thought. And they kind of fleshed her out a lot more towards the end of the episode, which I thought was good. The bigger thing for me, I think, was the Mariner side of the relationship with this character because it was a kind of eye-opening, I think, for Mariner, seeing how much she had grown, and she didn't even necessarily, she knew she had, but she didn't realize how much. And I think this really opened her eyes to how much she had grown too in this aspect. And two, one of the other things with this ensign was, even though she got under Ransom's skin, I liked how Ransom was like, "Oh, we got to give her another chance." And I did like that aspect because that's normally something maybe you don't see from Ransom. And I like the fact that he's kind of stuck up for her even when Mariner's mom was ready to get her off the ship, and Mariner's like pleading for her, put her with me, and Ransom stands up for Mariner, and that's one of the aspects that they haven't played up a lot was that change of relationship between Mariner and Ransom last season.
That's an interesting point. I like that, Kyle. So I got a question for you guys, and I like this character, and it was nice to see Mariner kind of reach out to her and try and save her and realize that she can help. How powerful is she? I mean, she doesn't have like Q powers, does she? I mean, she has some type of power here. Where would you gauge her powers, Amy? I'm kind of curious about that.
So she obviously has some kind of way to manipulate electricity. So, I mean, as far as like a Q power, I don't know if Q's like the most powerful, and then a regular human is not powerful. I'm gonna put her like at a 3 to 4 because she's producing lightning bolts and one gets stuck in Boimler, so there's power there, but just not much more. So I'm going around a 3 or 4 on a scale of 10.
Yeah, Kyle, I want to have you answer that too, because I kind of feel like she hasn't really developed all that she could do with her powers as well. Your
Well,
thoughts?
I think she spent so much time hiding her powers and not accepting
Yeah.
her powers
Mm-hmm.
that now that she has, it, Kevin, I'm going to put this into something you can relate to. It's like an X-Men. It's like the X-Men just found a young mutant that needs a little training up here. That's where she's at. You know, she is a demigod. She is half human, half god. So she maybe doesn't have like the full power of a Zeus or full on god, but she is powerful. But she just at this episode really embraced it maybe for the first time. And so, and now that she's going to get an understanding of it, it's something maybe we see her again before the season's out, and she's already at another level. But you know, that's kind of one of those things where sometimes when we have an ability, but we don't accept who we are or try to downplay that, play that, we don't reach our full potential of that ability. Once we accept that, we have that skill, or or we become something we're proud of, or something we're not afraid to hide. Then it grows and flourishes. That's what I would expect would happen with this character.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's get into topic number 2 that we got here. I like to just call this, can Boimler just be himself?
No.
Meanwhile, Boimler's story continues to develop in its obvious direction, with Rutherford acknowledging what he has been doing, and Boimler trying to argue in favor of just doing his best to emulate his alternate self. Rutherford's advice to just be yourself, which Boimler quickly dismisses, is pretty clearly where this story is headed. But it looks like Boimler's got a couple of more side quests to go on, and some more beard growth to get through before he realizes himself. Now, obviously, him, meeting Beard Boimler in a more confident version in the first episode of this season, it obviously makes for some fun storytelling with our main Boimler here. And I gotta be honest, okay? Being a guy who has facial hair, seeing Boimler go through this half-ass beard growth is just hilarious, but a little painful. Because there's some people like Ethan Hawke that just shouldn't grow a full beard, because you can't do it. So just stick with the goatee, And I'm wondering, like, is he going to just stick with the mustache? What's going on there? But guys, he's had a confidence issue for a long time. We love it when he geeks out about stuff, especially Klingon history. But I don't know. Where do you guys think this is going? Because he's struggling with the cooler self that he had met previously. But his teammates are just saying, Rutherford, just be yourself. What do you think, Amy?
Well, it's sort of this being yourself, as you said, your authentic self. And like Ensign Ollie, as I said, like she was trying to figure out, who is she? She is a daughter, somebody of Zeus, right? So accept that. And Boimler, we're now seeing him not be his authentic self. And so not being himself worked out. So I find this episode like got these two different outcomes of what's it going to be? Are you going to be yourself? Are you going to be authentic? Or are you going to try and be like someone else? And it doesn't matter if that someone else is you in a different universe. That is someone else. So I bet we're going to see something about Boimler really being true to himself, not anyone else. I don't know. That's sort of my guess. I feel like that's where it's leading.
What about you, Kyle?
So this arc has been my favorite part of this season, because I loved seeing these different things of Boimler. And I think there's kind of an interesting thing that's going on here. Because yes, Boimler's trying to be an alternate version of himself, but there's no reason that the things that are inside that alternative version of Boimler aren't within Boimler himself. And in a weird kind of way, where I think this is leading is Boimler is finding out these things about this alternate version of himself that it lets him think he's capable of them. And that's something with Boimler's confidence. This is giving him the confidence. And what I think is happening here is that there's going to be somewhere along the line where you're going to see the difference of the Boimler from the alternate universe did something that Boimler from this prime universe doesn't agree with, and Boimler is going to act on his own. But by going through this journey of trying to be this Boimler is finding out what's inside himself as well, that he hasn't had the confidence. It's just like with our ensign, where she denied her heritage for so long. But in this case, it's going to be, yes, this may not be the healthiest way to get to it, but Boimler is finding out what he has inside of himself and what he's capable of. But there's going to be a point during the season where he's going to make a decision that the other Boimler would not have made, and that's going to set him to realize, I'm better than that Boimler, or I am my own Boimler.
Yeah.
Great points, Kyle and Amy. So, first of all, I'm trying to remember, was there I feel like there was an earlier episode that made reference to Boimler dyeing his hair the color it is, that purple color. Do you guys remember that? I don't know if it was like the live action episode that we saw.
Like a dark blue or light blue. I think you're right. Yeah. And I think it was the live action.
Yeah. So I was just kind of curious because, like, is he doing that with his beard himself? Is he dyeing that too? What, Yakko?
I did a little workup. He does dye his hair, but no reason has been given as to why he dyes his hair.
Okay. All right. Well, he sticks out with the purple. I actually dig it. But yeah, I agree with you, Kyle. This has been one of the funny things that has been a thread throughout this series, because I feel like towards the end of this season, at least I'm hoping that we'll get a Boimler that's a little more confident, and I know that he wants to be in command, and I hope that he gets that shot. I know we kind of talked about, Kyle, I think at the halfway point after the last episode, that where we were with this, and we were hoping that, are we going to see our lower decks crew get transfers to other more prominent ships and prominent roles, and get promotions and stuff like that. And we want to see that for Boimler, because what's interesting about Mariner is that she's had this side life of all of these people that she knows. She knows the galaxy so well. She knows all these people. She's got a special relationship with Klingons, and I feel like with Boimler being friends with her and doing everything else, I feel like he's going to have a special place in the future of Starfleet with what he knows, whether it's just, emulating and idolizing people that he wants to be, to where I think he'll finally fill his own shoes and feel comfortable in them. So he's definitely been one of the most interesting characters. Kyle?
I think you bring up an interesting point when you talk about Mariner too, is because it's very obvious that Mariner and Boimler are the opposite sides of the same coin. And what you're seeing this year in this final season is they're getting close to the end of their journeys, and their end of the journeys are going to put them in a similar position, because with Mariner, she's had all these experiences, has all this confidence, but didn't have control of herself. Where with Boimler, he hasn't had these experiences, but he has the abilities, and he just doesn't tap into it because he hasn't had the experiences. And the problem is, in ways, they both self-sabotage. Boimler self-sabotages because he's trying too hard, and he's putting where Mariner is for so long was not wanting to accept the responsibilities, and that's it's funny, Kevin. I think about it. I referenced an episode of G.I. Joe. I think that fits this. The episode where 3 Joes get promoted all to like general, and then at the end of the episode, one said, "You have the ability, but not the desire." The other one has the desire, but not the ability, and then Shipwreck has neither. It's kind. I think it's kind of like that with Boimler and Mariner. Mariner doesn't have the desire, but she has the ability. Boimler has the desire, but he doesn't have the ability yet. They're both heading in that direction, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think one of the most endearing qualities about Boimler that I like is I just like it when he geeks out about stuff. It's one of the things, especially during the Klingon episode, he was just totally getting beat up over it too as well. So, all right, guys, I had to bring this up because I found it funny. The next topic we have is Dr. Tiana Potty Mouth. And the article goes on to say, "Do you relish any opportunity to spend time with Dr. Tiana, voiced by Gillian Vigman?" Is it Jillian? Is it Jillian or Gillian?
Jillian.
Jillian. Okay. though, who always makes me laugh and has disappointingly less screen time this season. There's a skill in animated comedies like this to deploying the bleeped swear words for comedic effect, and Lower Decks always nails making that bleep swear as funny as possible. I got to ask you guys about this character, because this character has got a potty mouth, and we've seen, obviously gets bleeped a lot, and this show has been taking chances with the foul language to a comedic effect. But like this episode, the actress really had a lot of mouthful to say. And I just kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on our potty mouth doctor here. I don't know if it's a trait necessarily with the species, but it seems to be a thing. And I'm thinking like Jillian's the voice actress was told like, you're going to be doing a lot of swearing. It's like, really, on a Star Trek show? Yeah, just go for it. I'm wondering how much of it is actually like, improvised. But this episode kind of surprised me at how much more they went over the line, not in a bad way. But I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on that. Amy, I want to start with you.
Okay, let's just go back to Discovery and the swear word.
Remember when they dropped that the first time?
Yes.
Tilly.
The uproar from the community, oh my gosh, the gasps. And now look at us, 2024. Dr. Ta'ana can't say a sentence without swearing, So, I mean, of course, this is all in fun and, sort of paying homage to Bones and his curmudgeony, get off my lawn and taken to the extreme. I mean, that is what she is. So I just think to see that pendulum swing from the first big swear word of Star Trek in 2017 to now, or when Picard, your effing hubris. Oh man, that was So
I forgot he cursed. I forgot about that.
What was that Admiral that said that he couldn't? Yeah. So, I just find it fascinating. I'm okay with it. I think the bleep is funny. And it is in a different tone than Discovery or Picard swearing. Like this
True.
Yeah.
What about you, Kyle? What do you think of our potty mouth doctor?
Okay, well, first of all, you get away with this because it's animation, and you get away with it because it's Mike McMahon, and people know what to expect. If you've watched Rick and Morty, you know what's coming from Mike McMahon, so you're going to have a character like this. But it works, and it works because it's the Star Trek character that doesn't give a bleep, and you need that in Star Trek. You need those characters who sometimes just don't give a bleep, but they're going to get the job done, and they're going, and that's the thing. She's been through a lot of things. She's seen some things, and she's like, I'm going to be me. And that I think that's the thing with this character. This character is going to be this character. They put this character in some crazy situations, obviously. I mean, but again, it's not like this is happening across the show. It's happening mainly with this character, and it fits this character, and it makes it fun episodes, because when you get this character involved, you don't know which direction this character is coming from. Is she going to attack you? Is she going to be supportive? Is she going to, do all of that? And what's even more funny about it is that at the times where she really starts cursing, it's more because somebody's pushed her to that point. A la Boimler in this episode. It's like, okay. And then you have Boimler just going, oh, I'm going to speak her language, and just goes, and you just see everybody just like, oh, he's blown it. And they're just running for their lives, basically, because they know what's about to happen. And so it's one of those things that tells you, though, that there's a fear, but there's also respect for that character, because people have this like, I don't want to say fear, but they just know you don't mess with this character, and that and that part of that is the bleeping, and it just makes that character just come across in a unique way that fits Lower Decks, and you can get away with it in Lower Decks. You can't get away with this character like this in any other Star Trek show. I'm sorry, you just can't.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things and liberties with like as you mentioned, Kyle, the animation aspect
Yeah.
of things. And I'll be honest with you, it makes me want to see our doctor around a little bit more to see, like, how she I I can you can kind of tell what curse words that she's saying, but I would love to be able to get this like on audio, like audio commentary or something like that, or like the unbleeped version on home video. That would be fun to hear. That would just be really good to hear that. But yeah, I find it very entertaining. So, all right, guys, let's get in some final thoughts here. All right, this is the Union Federation podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network, talking about, of course, we talk about Star Trek and the Orville. And of course, this week is Lower Deck, Season 5, Episode 6 of Gods and Angels. And we got a little tease into what's happening next week. The episode 7 is called Fully Dilated. They did release all of the episode names. They are out there. So
I have a prediction.
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna be seeing Tiana's. We're gonna see a certain pregnant sister return to Lower Decks.
Who's that?
Oh.
Tendy's sister.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. The fully dilated thing. Yeah,
But Kevin, before we go any further, I want to ask Amy a question, if I may.
No, I had a question for Amy as well, but go ahead.
Okay.
Amy, last week Kevin and I had a conversation about how there has been no ready room for this season of Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought was, if they do not do a ready room, at least after the season finale where they have the cast together, I'm going to be upset, because to me, that's a slap in the face to the cast of Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of curious of your thoughts of the fact that we haven't had any ready rooms for Lower Decks this season, because they've had them in the past, maybe not after every episode, but they usually have at least a couple during the season.
Yeah, they did have a little earlier, like I said, like either the beginning or something like that with Lower Decks.
Yeah, maybe
Well,
in
I
the
think
beginning or season ending.
That's because I feel that it was, remember when they had overlapping episodes? And I'm also wondering, well, we know Paramount has been going through finances and selling and blah, blah, blah. Maybe that was cut. My second sort of guess is that it's only a half-hour show. My third guess is it's only animated. I really have no idea. I miss Will Wheaton. I think he has been really doing such a great job. I feel like formally welcoming these newbies into our old club fandom. So it is a shame. And again, so many times we can say, man, Star Trek really missed the mark on that.
Yeah.
And this is one case.
I find it especially frustrating when you consider how much Miss Newsom has become a part of Trek, including going on to become a writer for Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap things up here. This is Gods of Angels. I want to get your final thoughts on here. But before we get our final thoughts, I wanted to ask you a question, Amy, of a discussion that Kyle and I had last week, because we had hit the halfway point of the final season. And I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts where you feel we are right now, including this episode, of course, of the final season. How's it going for you? And what would you like to see happen with our crew members towards the end of the season?
Well, like I said at the top of this episode, this one I really enjoyed. Starbase 80 was good. So we're definitely getting these characters developed. One of the episode titles that you had was Upper Decks. So again, flipping that Lower Decks to Upper Decks. Maybe there will be some promotions involved. And I really think that because they've known this is the final season, we're going to, I think, have some satisfaction with where the ship is. I'm hoping it will be something similar of how Next Gen ended, where they're off on the Cerritos doing their thing. Like in my mind, that I still want them out there That's how I would like it. I don't want anything to end, like how TNG, like they're still out there,
Right.
So I have a follow-up to that then, Amy, because Kevin and I talked about this as part of that. Would you want to see any of these characters return in a live action setting, even if it was just as a guest star or something like that? Because one of my theories was, when they're exploring all these fissures, you could have it be where, like, especially with Mariner, with Diane Newsom writing Starfleet Academy, what if Mariner goes through a fissure for an episode, and they could do an episode where she pops out of a fissure in Starfleet Academy, just for an episode or something like that.
Yeah.
There's other ways to do these characters, and I would love to.
Yeah.
Come on, who wouldn't love a Mariner Tilly team up?
No.
All right. Well, let's get our final thoughts on this episode of Gods and Angels. Amy, let's go back to you. What is your final thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, this episode was just really fun. I enjoyed both the A and the B, and I don't even know which one was the A and the B, because they both were important. I think it was very well balanced. Again, loving the three-dimensional shapes of sphere and cube, because each one has their own properties. Got a good vibe of the Last Icona and the other TNG one with Lonely Among Us. That was it.
Yes.
And I just feel like, I missed Tendi and Rutherford, but again, the matching up of where Mariner is and where Boimler is and their personal growth and their stories, I think is just really, really good. And I like the focus again on these little lower deckers. And then every once in a while you'll get a Ransom or Ta'ana. And I think it's just as it should be. And again, the puns in this one were amazing. Absolutely loved all of them.
Kyle, your final thoughts.
It's all Boimler. I mean, this has been the highlight of my season is Boimler in this season. They've done such a phenomenal.
Jack Quaid is great, isn't he?
Yeah.
Voicing it. Yeah.
Jack Quaid not only voicing it when he played live action Boimler, and it's still so funny to me because he's also the voice of Superman now for DC. So it's like Boimler is Superman. Wait, what's going on here? But no, it's what they're doing with that character is amazing. What they and the fun you can tell they're still having. And that I think for me that's one of the biggest shames of this is they are still having so much fun. And that's a shame that this is the final season. I understand why. There's a lot of political stuff going on with Paramount right now and everything of that nature, but I am imploring you, whoever is going to end up in charge of Star Trek, find a way, whether it's through Trek shorts, bringing these characters back in live action, or even doing I'd love to see a Lower Decks film at some point.
Yeah.
Even if it just go straight to streaming. Keep Lower Decks alive one way or the other after this, because this is so unique to Star Trek, and I think it's exceeded so many people's expectations. And I cannot wait for these last few episodes, but it's a little sad too, but I know they're going to be fun. So
can I just ask a real question? Might be a little divisive. If you could only have one, would it be Prodigy or Lower Decks?
Lower Decks.
Yeah.
That is without a doubt Lower Decks.
I think I like Prodigy, but I think Lower Decks has brought so much more to Trek, and it's so much fun, and the history it recognizes.
The thing that I like about Lower Decks too is when it takes place, and I'm going to kind of lead into that with my final thoughts here, because it's so close to the rest of Star Trek that we've all enjoyed over the last 30, 40 years. You got TOS callbacks all the time. But then you got TNG, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. And these are all the ones that we pretty much dove into, guys. And this is what it means a lot to us. And this I'm trying to say of the new Star Trek that we've had. That final season of Picard was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But Star Trek Lower Decks is up there for me. It really is. I want to give Strange New Worlds a little more time to burn. I'm really enjoying Strange New Worlds. But just, what we've seen this season alone has been a wonderful tribute. It's just, the show is a great tribute to Star Trek in general, Yeah. And if you know your Star Trek, you're getting it. If you don't, you're still just enjoying it for the ride. And one of the things I really noticed too in this episode is just how well drawn this episode is, and the production quality on the animation is just gorgeous. They really, I don't know what type of animation that they're doing here on Lower Decks, but I want to see more of it. And I've looked back at some Rick and Morty episodes. This looks nothing like this. I have not seen animation like this gorgeous before, really, to be honest with you, with maybe a couple of exceptions of, I don't know, maybe How to Train Your Dragon TV series, a couple other things as well. But it's just like, when you're talking about television quality effects, the animation is just great. And they do a great job of really showcasing the characters and their development. And that's been a really fun thing about this series too, is that you've seen a lot of the character develop from, they're not stale, they learn from their mistakes, they learn from their adventures, they learn from their crewmates and stuff like that. And I think that when this is done, I hope they will, like you said, Kyle, I would like to see them continue. I would love to see a Lower Decks movie. Kyle, I don't know if I stepped on your vote on whether you prefer, what Amy's question was, whether you prefer Lower Decks or Prodigy.
Oh, I like I said, I love Prodigy. I think Prodigy brought something very different to Star Trek, but I also think Prodigy, never really got the fair shot it deserved. The first season was so good. I think everything that happened with it really kind of pushed it back for a lot of people. But Lower Decks is pure Star Trek love. Everybody who's involved with this, you can feel how much they love Trek, not just for a certain aspect of it here or things like that. It's across the board. The things that the time they go into just the research of finding these most obscure things in Trek tells you how much they love this show and how much they love Trek. And I think that's one of the things that, even if Lower Decks isn't necessarily your cup of tea, you've got to appreciate that and love that aspect of the show. And that's the thing. I think the show has something in it for every Trek fan. Even if certain things are not episodes or things are not quite their favorite, every Trek fan can find something in Lower Decks. And I don't think you can say that about any other Star Trek show. I truly don't think you can. This one covers everything across the board, and it does it, and it has fun. And sometimes, as much as I love Star Trek, sometimes that's one of the Star Trek's things that will hold it back a little bit. Sometimes they forget to have fun, and this show brings the fun.
Amy, answer your own question. I'd like to hear what you think. Prodigy or Lower Decks?
Yeah, it's got to be Lower Decks.
Yeah.
It's just because this is the fun one, like you said. The others, they're dramas. They're dramatic, they're serious. They're, the fate of Discovery, the fate of the entire existence of life and planet and galaxy. And, that's always on the line. Lower Decks, hey, we're just having fun. So, yeah.
But I think too, Amy, in your point with that too, I think it's one of the reasons why Strange New Worlds is as good as it is, because even though it has serious, they find ways to have fun. I mean, and the fact that you brought those characters in the live, Strange New World was willing to do that. Strange New Worlds is that, and I think that's the thing about Strange New Worlds. It's learned from Lower Decks, and it has a great balance of the drama and the fun. And I think that's why Strange New Worlds has resonated so well within across the board in Star Trek.
Yeah, they are balancing that line between fun and serious and episodic and serialized storytelling. Like, they have captured all the noise that us fans said that we wanted and somehow got it.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing it right because, man, ugh.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and close this out. This is the Union Federation on the Fandom Podcast Network. You can, of course, find the Fandom Podcast Network on YouTube. If you're listening to this podcast, please check out the video with our fun slides and all. And please subscribe, share, comment, let us know. You can find Union Federation on X, Instagram, also Fandom Podcast Network as well. Also, we are on Blue Sky. Make sure you check that out. We just recently joined Blue Sky, myself and Kyle, and of course, Fandom Podcast Network. And so, yeah, you can also email us too at theunionfederation@gmail.com. Amy, tell us how we can find you and the BQN. What's happening over there?
Yeah, we've been on Blue Sky for a while, and it has been so much fun watching everyone migrate over. Millions of people. So much fun. So find us at BQN Podcasts, and that's sort of me using that. So yeah, find me there. And we are getting back into full swing. We've got All Good Things coming back, and Infinite Diversity still going strong. Trexperts quiz. Cinema Z. So, History with the Zalogis. Lots going on over there. So find us BQN Podcasts on all the socials.
And just like you guys, you have a BQN Facebook group, just like we have a Union Federation Facebook group as well. So yeah, check that out. Did you mention where we can find you?
Yeah, on Blue Sky, BQN Podcasts.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Kyle, how can we find you, sir?
Well, I'm feeling a little assimilated all of a sudden. I have no idea why that might be, but I know
I should be the cube.
Well, yeah. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on the Union Federation Facebook page. You can find me on the Fandom Podcast Network page. You can find me individually on X at AKyleW. You can find me on Threads and Instagram at AKyleFandom. You can find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW as well. We're all over the place these days. I can't keep track anymore.
Nice. You can find Haley on Blue Sky and Instagram at Trekkie01D. You can find me. I'm Kevin. I'm also at Spartan_Phoenix on Instagram, Threads, Discord, Letterbox, and at Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix. And we also want to say, if you want to support us too, head on over to TeePublic and search Fandom Podcast Network. And purchase one of our shirts. We also have a Union Federation fun logo there as well. You also get hats and mugs and pillows and a bunch of other cool stuff. But if you purchase one of the Fandom Podcast Network items, we get a little kickback, and it helps us clean up the P corner. So there you go.
Kevin, I don't know if you noticed or not, the particular color of that Union Federation shirt when I put together that
red shirt. I see what you did there. Yes. Amy, Kyle, thank you guys so much. We hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Please join us next week here. We're excited. And until next time, yes, Kyle, one more thing.
I just don't forget, make sure your blood wine is flowing and all your Klingon meals are good because it is Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all the listeners.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. Yes. Guy, the Lower Decks crew would be fun for Thanksgiving festivals. That would be fun. All right, guys, until next time on Union Federation Podcast, live long and prosper. And without a doubt, we are the weirdest ship in the fleet. See you guys next week.